All right, good morning. All right, first I want you to start out. This is the back of the page of the dividing decimal notes. So flip to the back, and I want you to write these three phrases. So it says, write the phrase as an algebraic expression, okay? So in just a minute, you're going to pause and write what I did. I'm going to show you one example. So number 1 says 3 more runs than the Pirates scored. Okay, so I did P plus 3, where P represents the Pirates. So the Pirates scored 3 more runs. Okay, so now I want you to pause, write these 3 down. You don't need to write the verbal expression. You can just write 1, 2, and 3, and you write the algebraic expression. Okay, so go ahead and take a minute and pause and try to do the last 2. All right, now let's begin taking notes. So flip to your table of contents. All right, and my notes are on page 29. So you're going to write today's date, which I'm doing this on Friday, so before y'all get here. So today is the 19th. Okay, so 9/19. And you're going to write expressions versus equations. Okay? And then mine, like I said, was on page 29. But remember, this page number is whatever your page number is. So if your page number is not 29, the next clean right-hand side page, then you write down what yours is, okay? All right, if you need to pause to copy this down, go right on ahead. I'm going to move on. Okay, so I'm going to turn back to page 29. This is where you're going to set up your C notes. Your C notes, okay? So here's my C notes. I set them up. Okay, so there's your toolbox, your title, and your essential question for today. Okay, so in the toolbox, I put the words variable, expression, and equation. All right, my title was expressions versus equations. And then my essential question for today is, what is the difference between an expression and an equation? Go ahead and pause and write this down if you need to. Remember, you can always go back to if I'm moving too quickly. All right? So let's begin. Expression versus equation. First, I'm going to give you the definition of an equation. An equation is a sentence stating that 2 quantities are equal. Remember that if I write it down, you should be writing it down as well. Your notes should match mine. So, equation, a sentence stating that 2 quantities are equal. So let's look at an example. Right here. 3x plus 5 equals 17. So this whole thing, including the equal sign and the 17, is an equation. So it's saying that this quantity and this quantity are equal. That's why it has an equal sign. Equations have equal signs. Expression would just be this piece, the 3x plus 5. Okay, so notice how I have labeled that. And then I went ahead and labeled this x. This is our variable. Our variable is what we're solving for when we look for when we're writing equations and expressions. So I went ahead and wrote off to the side, a variable can be any letter or symbol. It doesn't always have to be x. It doesn't have to be a y. It could be a k. It could be a p. It could be a triangle. It could be whatever, okay? So when you see something like that in an equation like this, and it's a symbol, it's standing for the variable. Remember, you can pause and copy this down if you need some more time. All right, so now I want to talk about how to write an equation when given a verbal expression. Okay, so let's look at an example of that. First, we're going to look at x plus 7, okay? So this is an expression, just an expression, okay? So x plus 7 in a problem could look like x plus 7, x increased by 7. It could also look like x dollars in the bank and you deposit $7, okay? X dollars in the bank and you deposit $7. So in a problem, when you're reading a word problem, If you read something like this where I have some money in the bank, I deposit $7. That's what it's talking about. Okay, let's look at another one. 8 minus y. So notice I'm doing an addition and then now I'm looking at a subtraction one. 8 minus y could look like 8 minus y in a problem, okay? Another way it could look is the difference of 8 and y. And then 8 decreased by y. Well, let me fix my papers. 8 decreased by y. Y taken away from 8. $8 in the bank, and then you withdraw y dollars. Okay, so this is how it could look in a word problem. So notice these key words for subtracting: minus, difference, decrease, okay, withdraw. For addition, it was plus, increase, and deposit, okay? So those are just some key words. Now, look at this one, 4a. Okay, when you see a number next to a variable, that means it's being multiplied, okay? So now, look here, 4 times a. That's how it could be written. It could also be written as 4 multiplied by a, the product of 4 and a. You get 4 gallons of gas for $8 each, okay? Now let's look at this one, 32 divided by k. Well, I'm going to move this up for you. So this could look like 32 divided by k, the quotient of 32 and k, 32 apples split evenly into k bags. Okay, now let's look at an equation and how it could look. X plus 3 equals 10. It could look like this. X plus 3 equals 10, or is 10. The sum of x and 3 is 10, so this also means to add. Or, looking in a word problem, it could look like this. Joe has X oranges, and he bought 3 more. If Joe has 10 total, how many did he start with? Okay, notice this word total. 10 total. So that means it's equal to 10, okay? So that's another way to look at an equation. Notice the only difference is we said equals 10. So like x plus 7 equals some number. That makes it an equation. The sum of x and 3 is 10. Notice when you see this is, that's telling you that that's what it equals. Okay? And so like 32 divided by k. I want to show you another way that could be written as well. Remember our fraction bar represents division. So it could also be written like that. 32 divided by k, where it's written over k, like a fraction bar. Okay? Make sure you get all these copied down before class on Monday. And I will see you on Monday. Make sure, too, that you're going back and filling any questions to help you study, too, okay? Now that you've finished taking your notes, and you should have finished these, I'm going to go ahead and give you the answers. So a number decreased by 8. Oop, my lights just went off. So a number decreased by 8. So that's some number in minus 8. So remember, this decrease means to subtract. Okay, $10 more than Grace has. So it's going to take Grace and get $10 more. So plus 10. We're going to talk more about keywords that are going to help us know what operation it is on Monday. All right, have a great weekend.